All right, it's in between. We are under the gun because, Richard, what are you doing today?
The CrossFit Open workout 23.1 is back. I did it on Friday, and I've got to do it again today. Right now, my current score would put me in the top 9% worldwide of my age division, and if I can literally just get one more rep, it'll put me top 5% of my
Damn,
age division.
good on you.
It's that big of a deal.
Yeah.
That one rep is a big deal. I'm not trying to think about it. I'm just trying to get in there and get the work done and get it done.
I mentioned already that I saw my sister-in-law twice yesterday and hung out with her, and I was telling her about the podcast, and we talked about Sean, which you met
said
her.
She had never didn't know we were doing it. Is she going to listen to it now?
No,
Okay.
not a chance. It's not what she wanted to do.
Okay.
She knows Sean from way. She met Sean years ago when we all hung out quite a bit more on a regular basis. She doesn't know Richard, but I was telling her about you. And I said, so, we got Sean and I said, oh, and then Richard, he's a CrossFit guy. And so then she says, oh, like DJ, which is Shelly and Sherry's cousin.
Okay.
And I said, no.
Not like DJ.
DJ wishes he could be Richard. I said I said Richard is the same stats where he's top 9, top 5. DJ just started in it. I guarantee you. And good on this is what I said. Good on him for doing it no matter what. But I was like, back off my friend Richard because he will kick your fucking ass.
Well, no. I'm just having a good time.
So you guys mentioned some Marvel stuff. I'm going to start the conversation real quick because we had a little bit of an in-between conversation already because I watched a movie last night called To Leslie. To Leslie is the film, if you're not familiar with it, that the actress Andrea
Don't ask me.
Rosenberg or something like that. I forget her name and I don't have it in front of me. Got nominated for Best Actress, and it caused a bit of a uproar by the Academy because they felt as though it was done illegally because it was a lot of established actors saying, have you seen this performance, and showing it to each other, and they end up nominating her. And I'll say this up front, I, as the only one that's seen it, it is 100% indie in that you can tell that it was shot very quickly because there's a lot of handheld following, a lot of setups like that. But it also is so beautifully indie that, what indies often allow you to do is you don't feel the need to gloss over anything. She's a hopeless alcoholic. Hopeless. She fucks up. She's miserable. She uses people, and they show that. And this woman's performance at times is just haunting. In fact, at the end, I won't say anything that happens, but there's a reaction she had that I thought, that's why I'd rather watch, most times I'd rather watch an indie than I would a Hollywood constructed thing. Because I'd mentioned I just saw Tar, and Kate Blanchett is magnificent in it, but it's much more polished.
But did you want to watch Kingdom of the Crystal Skull?
What?
Which you say you like indies?
Richard, you're close enough. Hit him. Hit him. Just hit him. We don't give into violence here, but hit him.
I mean,
But this movie's fantastic. Look, it's okay. You know what? In its own way, it is uplifting. I find when we see a character that goes down into the depths of humanity, that can actually acknowledge I'm in the depths, I find that reaffirming. We're trying. That's the human struggle. Is we all feel like we're down here and we're trying to get out of it. She is fucking fantastic. Why does the Academy give two shits how she got that nomination? Shouldn't it just be, wow, look at this gem we found this year?
I don't understand how that's quote unquote illegal, but me putting an ad in a newspaper saying for your consideration, put Bobby Blah as best actor in movie XYZ. What's the difference?
Well,
I paid a company money to put an ad out there versus I talked to somebody and said, "Hey, watch this movie."
But I mean, it's like running a political ad. What you want somebody to vote for you or vote for your candidate or what? I mean, that's just what happens.
Well,
right? You don't run for student body president and not have ads and have people advocate for you.
And apparently, one of the things the Academy was upset about was that they look, and this is the truth of it. And I say it every year. These fucking award shows come up. It is not about achievements in art. It is about achievements in art that made money.
Yeah.
And because
not necessarily, because you don't get something like Avengers Endgame nominated for Best Picture, even though it, at the time had made the most money ever.
That's the hypocrisy of it. But it has to be achievements in art with money. And they look at unfairly fantasy and horror and comedy are not achievements in art, which that alone makes them look stupid. But the fact that To Leslie, I think at the time that she got the nomination, had made less than $1 million in box office returns. Okay. The theater business right now is in trouble because movies outside of, and Top Gun saves the industry because it's a big tentpole movie, but little films like this are not Tar didn't make any money in the movie houses,
but it still gets nominated.
Why the fuck does that matter? Coda last year wasn't even shown in outside of like 3 theaters to be eligible, and it wins, and it's an indie film, but they don't have a problem with it because it's still kind of studio connected. This one's not, even though the guy that directed it directed a bunch of Better Call Saul episodes, and it's great.
Well, we were talking about this earlier. Podcasts that I listen to, a lot of them say, "Hey, you know what? They shouldn't." You heard this too. They shouldn't vote on this year what the movie of the year is. It should be the movie of the year from 5 years ago, so that you have some perspective on performances, how it reached the public, if it stands the test of time, does it become problematic later? Who knows? Yeah.
It's why I enjoy, I don't know if you guys ever look at the AFI releases a list at the end of the year, and it's about, I think they're actually they're considering adding in podcast eventually. I read that, but they put in achievements in film and achievements in television, and it's a list. There is no number to how many they will do. And if it ends up being that there are 20 films that they want to simply catalog and say, these are achievements we need to remember, they're basically building a time capsule that say these are important films this year. And it doesn't say one's better than the other, but you go along and usually, to your point, 5-10 years later, it's like, okay, that's still kind of important.
Well, I mean, we can even talk about it in terms of the Apes. When you look back at the original film, like what kind of impact did it have? And now that we have some distance between the events that were happening socially at the time, we can look back and see what it was reflecting at the moment.
Right.
Even though it may be apparent a little bit at the time, sometimes that distance allows us to really see how it kind of puts itself in that context, in that era, in that moment. I mean, we're all involved a little bit in somewhat politics and talking about that, and history somewhat repeats itself, and so it's not kind of hard sometimes to be in this moment and be upset about what's happening in our country and our democracy and all this stuff. But they're periodically, or every so often, you come across articles that basically say it's kind of more of the same that's happened over centuries in terms of like context of press and free speech and things like that. It's just kind of fascinating that we can, when we're in the moment itself, sometimes we need we can't really see the forest for the trees, and we need to be a little bit further away from it to kind of look back on it.
Right.
But more importantly, Marvel's doing Planet of the Apes covers.
More importantly, it always comes back to Marvel, and at least it tied to Planet of the Apes. Go ahead.
So Marvel was the company that originally got the license for the Planet of the Apes comics in 1974 and 1975.
Oh, really?
And they did some adaptations and some stuff as well.
New stuff, yeah.
They lost the license at some point. It went over to, I forgot who had Boomhead for a little while.
Yeah.
Maybe IDW. It doesn't matter. But anyway, they have recently reacquired the license. And so right now, Marvel Comics for February and March have a secondary or cover to them featuring their Marvel characters with in the context of the Planet of the Apes films. Now they're not actually in the pages of the comics themselves. They're just
the covers,
variant covers, and some of them are better than others. But it's leading into a new Planet of the Apes comic books coming up in April 2023. What you two will be happy about, is they're set in the continuity of the new films.
Oh,
yes,
nice,
and the upcoming Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Okay,
so
I do like that.
I will not be able to watch it.
You have to wait a while to read it.
I will not be able to read it. I will not be able to read it until you actually see the movies. But yeah, it's they've got the license to bring it back, and they're putting themselves behind it.
I like it. That's interesting. The Marvel stuff, when you say that they own that license back in, wasn't Marvel the company that also released the Star Wars adaptations back then?
They did. They did Logan's Run,
and there was something about the coloring that was really off and wacky, and I just remember those with such fond memories of.
I want to say it was
weird
like Howard
interpretations
Chaykin or somebody who drew Star Wars, but they would do like very bold colors in there. Yeah, like the purples and yellows and stuff like that. Yeah,
I like that.
That's when the Star Wars comic book is where they introduced that rabbit.
I was going to say that's exactly what I was going for the rabbit.
Right.
So I'm wondering, when is Dave Filoni going to pull him out?
Jackson. His name is Jackson.
Okay, so with Dave Filoni in conversation, has anyone watched Bad Batch and gotten caught up?
Yes, I have.
I am caught up, I think. Yeah, I think so wait, the season's not over yet?
No, it's nine episodes.
I might be an episode or two behind.
Okay. Have you at least seen the whole thing about that they're kind of telling the idea of what happens to the clones
afterwards?
As the Empire?
Yes. This is
that's fucking interesting.
This made having watched the first season and be like, okay, I was okay with the first season. I was crazy about it, and I'm not really super motivated by the Omega character.
Omega, yeah.
at all.
I mean, just like
Even though she is the woman who plays that boy, she's cute. She's Asian, of course, and you know me. It's like, oh, what a cute Asian lady.
But I mean, like I really bonded with Ahsoka, and I feel
True.
like Omega was kind of supposed to be somewhat of that, and I can't really get into the character. But the fact that they're dealing into what happens with the clones is so fascinating. I mean, this is real. Okay, this is more story. This
Yeah.
is why you bring the Bad Batch in or bring it back for a season in a show, so we can see where this ends up. And I love that they can do that in the animated universe or the live action universe. We can see these things.
And I think that's. I understand why Dave Filoni does what he does, and he does it very well, which is to kind of
take the fringe or the little bits out there.
Yeah, and let's tell them a story that takes a while, and when we get here, suddenly I'm going to tell you this grand story. And I think what he's done so beautifully is to find those moments to kind of plug the gaps that the prequels left behind, because that's been one of the interesting things about what he's done. This idea, what happened in between the end of that to here. And I do think that talking about the clones and what happened to them, because that's a huge hanging chad, you know?
Right.
It's like, here it is, it's
Yeah,
there.
because that was always a question. It was like, all right, who are the people under the stormtrooper outfits? We didn't know that in Star Wars. We knew they were people in there because Luke and Han stole their outfits and got into it.
Right.
But then you set up in 1, 2, and 3, you got clones. So were they supposed to be clones in those stormtrooper outfits or not? We didn't know. And then now we know it's just peoples.
I think
It's just people's.
I think the stories that I would like to actually see in live action or animated would really surround 7, 8, and 9 and some of the places we get to there. I mean, Mandalorian is kind of dealing with the fracturing of the Empire and this idea of these Moffs being
Like their own little power.
their own little things. But there's a point where we've got to get back to the planet of the Sith, and there's a point where we've got to get to where Rey is somehow a Palpatine. And I would love to see some of those. But I think an animated or live action universe could make that work for us.
I agree.
And I would like to see some of that. Now, I think that they're two separate stories. I think the Planet of the Sith and Rey being a Palpatine could be two different animated blocks. But we've got characters that we need to find out what happened. I mean, they teased with us in 7, 8, 9 that Leia trains as a Jedi and fails horribly at it, right? And we need to see the rise of Ben Solo. We need to see the Knights of Ren. I want to see all of that at some point.
And 8, you see that there's this little kid that's got Force powers too. I mean, so there are other Force users still out there. Let's look in on them. And they don't have to be Jedis. They can be a Force user that is using their powers to clean stuff. It's using their powers to cheat at gambling or whatever. Yeah.
I mean, we hear about Taika Waititi taking over a property and creating his own film. That should be interesting, you know, with his whimsical nature to it. I've heard that David Lindelof might get his hands in this, and he's a great. Ever since stepping away from Lost, his storytelling has gotten fantastic.
He's got a new show coming out too, right?
Yeah. I mean, you go watch the Leftovers, and then you watch Watchmen. The guy is great, and I would love to see him in the Star Wars universe take it over and see what he can do. As long as they are not telling me, this is where I'm a little hesitant with give me any kind of Rey cartoon. I don't want any more Skywalkers.
No more Skywalker
I'm kind of done with that. I don't mind you telling me the story of Jedis or Cassian Andor and all these kind of things. I just don't want Skywalkers.
But I'm not even saying we have to see Rey or Rey as a child. I'm saying I would like to see a show where we find out what happened to Palpatine's kids.
Okay.
And they're not focused. They're just background. We just kind of see this kind of unfold in a story that's happening someplace else in the universe. That's what I would be curious about, you know, or how the Millennium Falcon gets there and whatever, all those other small things.
Yeah. There's also been talk of turning Solo into a TV show, which I'm okay with. I just watched that again the other day. Yeah, there are moments like, okay, I didn't need you to explain where the name Solo comes from. It's a little bit too much. It's fun. I like that movie. I like him. Let's have some adventures in there. Yeah. There's no reason not to.
The comic universe has been exploring Kiara
Oh, really?
A lot, yeah. She's had like 2 years of storylines right now. So,
wow.
So I don't know if the television universe, if they were to go to the Solo show, would actually pull from the comic book. But yeah, she's...
Well, Filoni's very big on that. If we're going to say it here, we got to be there.
She's playing very heavily involved in the comic book. So
I like that.
You could pull from that.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of that, have y'all ever developed her tune on Galaxy of Heroes? Me neither. She's sort of just... me, whatever.
I think I have... Well, let's see here.
And by the way, we just got a
Oh.
call that we're in the war, the territory war. They need all hands on deck because we're in a battle till the finish.
Okay.
So if you've got anything left,
I'm loading it up. When did we start that?
yesterday.
Oh, well, it must have been fast then because I hadn't even seen it.
I mean,
Well,
I've set defenses. I haven't actually fought anything yet.
I've done a little bit of offensive
Did you see the
battling
one
there.
that we failed at like 2 days ago? Those
Yes.
they were all, everybody had a Galactic Legend.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got nothing.
So in Grand Arena today, I'm up against a guy that literally has six Galactic Legends. I'm like, well, I'm fucked. I'm not even. I'm gonna.
How do
Not
you
even gonna play.
how long have you been on the game?
how much
Well,
money
how
you
much
spend?
money are you throwing into that game? At that point, because if you're in Grand Arena, you at least get some shards if you go in and just battle him. Even if you lose, it's just to say you battled. That's at this point, I'm like, okay, I've lost.
All right, where are you seeing a battle? Look, I don't see any battle.
You must have not signed up for it. You must have missed it.
I must have missed it.
Dude, you suck.
I did. Well, tell him that was not intentional.
Oh. That's the fun thing that you're not on Discord, and I get the, hey, have you spoken to Sean lately? Yeah, speak to him pretty much every day.
Yeah.
Did you want me to tell him something? Well, we just haven't seen him. I'm like, okay, great. He has a life. Sometimes we don't have time to play Star Wars games.
I play this every day, so I mean, I get my shit done. So I just totally missed that battle.
So Sean brought up that you saw the new Ant-Man, and I came back and said I've not finished Loki. I've not seen the last Ant-Man. I've not seen the last Doctor Strange. I have not watched a ton of shit.
Well, since Abby's out,
Yeah, but okay, while I hate award season, what I love about award season is like, oh, I'd never heard of that film. I want to watch it. And so
Fair.
right now I am just watching everything that can that's, be it whether in the Independent Spirit Awards or whatever. I'm trying to get those in. So Marvel, that's where Marvel ends up going, okay, that's just another thing I don't have time for. Now, I do want to see Doctor Strange because they introduced the Fantastic Four in that. Did I hear that?
kind of, sort of.
Who?
Doctor Strange and the Fantastic Four.
Because John Krasinski is
So kind of, sort of.
Reed.
Yeah,
What's his name?
I don't
You
want to
have-
spoil it for you.
Yeah,
but
you have to watch it without spoiling.
Okay, and I heard that, and I thought, okay, that I'm interested in. That's something that I wanted to see them do and do well.
And don't say anything.
I know.
Yeah,
I,
so-
I was like, okay.
That's right. Yeah, let them watch
But
it.
that's also how I feel about a lot of Marvel. I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, I mean,
There's
with,
only 15 minutes left in the attack phase. Well, shit. I should
well,
probably
with
hop
the
in and do something.
with
Sorry.
the Disney and their cuts and everything now saying they're going to slow Marvel down. It might be a thing where you were getting
A chance to catch up.
overrun with so many things out there: a She-Hulk, a Hawkeye,
Oh, wow.
a Captain America, and the Winter Soldier. Now they're going to slow it down, and you're
Right.
not going to have 3 movies a year and 5 television shows. It'll probably be maybe 2 movies a year, if not 1, and maybe 2, if not just 1 TV show a year. I don't know.
But then how interesting is it that Iger also has alluded to that Star Wars needs to be on the big screen?
Yeah.
And I thought, it's really the truth of where Marvel and Star Wars. It's weird because Star Wars is probably in a film perspective until of recent a much bigger property to own.
Yeah.
And now they've turned it into television shows more than anything, and Marvel's out there doing both. So you would think that Star Wars might kind of at least give me 1 Star Wars film every other year, 2 Star Wars films every other year, whatever it may be, 1 a year. I don't care. It feels very weird suddenly that the only thing we
big
get is
gap.
yeah,
Yeah,
television.
TV show.
And I get it. It's when you basically make sequel series that don't entirely make sense, no one gives a shit, and that's why your returns go down.
Yeah. Hey, look at Planet of the Apes.
Hey, look at Planet of the Apes. So anything else? What are you guys reading comic book wise? Tell me about something. What's good?
I'm reading Tom King's Danger Street. I'm reading Tom King.
Tom King.
Tom King, a
It's about
favorite writer.
his human target is about to end, and I freaking love that book.
Okay.
There's a comic called Dark Ride from Image that I'm enjoying about it's like Disneyland if it was satanic and what happens there. It's about to wrap up a comic by Chip Zdarsky called Stillwater, where it's this town where nobody dies and nobody ever gets old. And
Interesting.
Oh, I read the first storyline. Is it going well still?
yeah,
Is
it
still
wraps up with issue 18, so it's
Oh, okay.
almost over. It's
Okay.
one of those ones where he said it wasn't going to be a long story, so it's almost over. It's one of those ones you could read in a day.
And who's the publisher of that?
Image
Image.
Comics.
Okay. My access to online stuff either through Amazon or Verizon is either Marvel or DC.
Gotcha.
Because basically I get those for
That
quote
that
unquote
Marvel
free right now.
Unlimited,
Yeah.
Oh, I just died.
If
I'm not helping the territory.
you suck.
I'm not.
Sean doesn't even sign up, and I'm kidding, of course. Okay, so I'm going to make this the last question. This is going to go back to the DC Universe stuff James Gunn talked about. There are 2 characters, and I want to know, with what you know about Superman, which, if I were going to go look on my apps where I get all this stuff for free, what Superman, give me just a few comics or writers that I should be looking at. Do you think he's probably looking at and plans to at least pull ideas from?
Well, he definitely, he said he had a picture of it. You want to look up All-Star Superman.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Frank
It's such a
Quietly
great
and
book.
Garth.
Is it just a graphic novel or is it a series of books?
It's 12 issues,
Okay.
but you can get it in 2.
All-Star Superman.
All-Star Superman by Grant Morrison and Frank Quietly.
And then for Batman, with knowing that he's bringing in Damian as Robin, where does that begin?
That again was Grant Morrison.
Was
Was
Grant
it?
Morrison? Yeah, they've got 2 storylines. They're pushing the Batman and Robin comic book that came out, and they're pushing one other book.
But that was
Was that Dick?
10 years ago that
a long
he
time
like
ago.
showed up.
Damian was 10 years ago, really?
At least
He
that
feels
way.
much
Well, I
more
mean,
current to
if
me.
you go with the actual
I
history, it was from that Batman.
I killed 2 of the people on the
There you
squad.
go. There
That's
you
all I
go.
got.
You helped.
Well, I mean, this one area is actually all Galactic Legends. I'm like,
I don't even ever
got
face the
one.
Galactic Legends.
Yeah, see, it's got like all that.
Yeah, I don't even try that.
Let's see here.
Well, I
Damian
defeated
Wayne.
2 of the characters.
There you go. You helped.
A little bit.
Trying to see if they have first.
It's close.
appearance.
Fuck. Yeah.
It's a Grant Morrison All-Star Superman. Grant Morrison's run with Batman. Approximately
Here we
10
go.
years.
Batman and Robin, Volume 2, Number 1, November 2011.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm shocked by that.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I thought Damian was a much newer character.
If you want to go to the original origin, then you go back to that Batman, Son of the Demon, or whatever that Neil Adams did, where he and Talia had
Well, I
sex,
remember-
and then
yeah,
the
Son
little
of the-
baby was at the end of that. That technically is Damien.
Yeah, and I did read. I've read that years ago. It's been years, but I remember reading that.
That's where he got.
They're bringing these books are kind of a little bit out of print right now. They're in the process of actually bringing them all back.
Okay.
So I would hold off just a little bit to kind of get into it because we've
Yeah.
still got plenty of time. I mean, we're not going to see a movie till 2025.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got
Okay.
2023 for the Batman,
formally.
but the new stuff
yeah.
doesn't
So
hit for a while.
this year's like Flash, Blue Beetle,
And that trailer they released at the Super
Shazam.
Bowl for the Flash looks great. It's a lot of fun.
It was a lot.
It is a lot, but at the same
was
time,
a
I thought
lot.
it's a lot of fun. I kind of
I would
dig it.
actually go to the theater to see that
lots,
one for
lots
sure.
of Batmans, lots of Flashes.
I like that
bet
there's
they
a
pulled-
Batman costume that has blue and gray in it. I like that. That makes me happy, though it is a little cheesy, but I like it.
I'm sure somehow they're going to pull in Grant Gustin Flash from TV. Since they already did movie Flash on TV, somehow
Yeah.
they're going to pull TV Flash into movie.
I don't know. I don't think he wants to be involved with this anymore.
Oh, is he done?
Well, I mean, his
the
show is
last
wrapping
season.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was talk about him doing more, and he's not interested.
Greg Berlanti, wasn't that his
Yeah.
name?
Yeah.
That it kills me that dude goes from the heights of like creating everything, and and then he's also a creator of that show You on Netflix. And now it's kind of like nobody wants to work with
His
him.
whole universe shut down.
You look at that shut down, and outside of You, it's like I've read a few things are like, oh, people have kind of waned on it. Like there's not as much magic to him as they thought there was.
Well, I mean, if we're just talking about the television universe, the formula was the same for all the shows.
Yes, it was.
Kind
Yeah.
of got stale.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was the hi, I'm in the comic books, I'm a superhero that does everything on my own, but in TV, since I have to talk to other people and I can't have my internal monologue, so we're going to have Team Flash instead of
Right.
Flash. We're going to have instead of Batman, we're going to have Team Batman.
None of the
Instead
after season 1, none of the characters really had a secret identity
Yep.
to anybody that was near them. They had to form a team to help them solve all their problems.
and anybody who became tangentially associated with them somehow became a superhero at some point.
And they gave up on all their real jobs because they just wanted to be superheroes all the time.
Yeah, nobody
Yeah.
works. Yeah.
I think when it first began with Arrow and then into Flash and those, I think at first it was a little fun.
Oh, for sure. No, I think there was some magic to it. I think some of the shows
Oh,
are
yeah.
actually really enjoyable. I think when you look at them as a whole, you recognize the pattern. You can be kind of bored by it. If you really are watching
Right.
Supergirl and Flash and Arrow and Black Lightning and all of them, and you just kind
And
of recognize them.
Batwoman
I think the only thing that
and
didn't
Superman and Lois.
I think
and
the only thing that strayed a little bit from the formula in terms
Legends
of
of Tomorrow.
Well, that was the only one I think that in terms of
They had fun on that show.
They did. Once they kind of got past it, it was just a symbol, just superheroes moving through time. That was kind of fun.
I just remember watching Arrow, and it was one of the first times in let's create live action versions of this that I completely went, okay, hang on. That looks like Oliver no matter where he is. And what I thought they could have had so much fun with is if he had put on the fake
beard,
mustache and beard. If that had been fake and that had been part of his costume, but instead Steven, whatever his name is just a beautiful person. He shows up and it's like, damn, you're good looking. And I can tell it's still you.
Right.
Do something. Have fun. have fun with these
Well,
ideas of the
they
silliness
used
of
to
that
do that. They
that
used
goatee.
to do that with the Flash, where he'd at least vibrate his face and they'd
Right.
make his voice sound a little bit different when he was talking to somebody that he knew.
Don't you remember that? I forgot about that answer.
But then they just
and then
kinda-
Clark Kent did it as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Also, Clark would do.
Is that in the comics, or
and
did
the-
they do that on the shows?
Somebody were trying to explain why. I don't know. They did it in the shows. They did it in the comics.
It-
Okay.
yeah, it was.
And that's great.
That,
Trying to explain why people didn't recognize Superman and
Because
Flash
he always
because
moved
they're-
his face-
They're moving to slight vibrational
so
differences.
if you took a picture of him, you didn't really see what he looked like.
And you know what? Cool. That's fun.
To think about, I'm just thinking about you doing this as fast as you can all day, so nobody can tell who you are. Just god damn it, my neck.
But I mean, he's already moving. He's already watching you guys move in slow mo. So
Yeah.
I mean, how hard is that going to be?
Yeah. I found that so silly at times. And did y'all read the adaptation of what would have been Tim Burton's Batman 3 that they did as a comic? Did you read that thing?
Batman
I've heard-
89?
89, is that what it was?
There was going to
did
be
not.
Joker's daughter coming back and everything.
In that one, it tells Two-Face's story. Gordon himself gets killed.
Mm-hmm.
Barbara becomes the police chief. We get a Robin. Robin is a kid that he meets on the street, but Robin's costume, instead of being the typical little mask, two-eyed
The domino mask?
it actually is a thing he pulls up over the bottom of his face. And I thought, I like that.
Yeah.
It's different. Eyes are very easy usually. Like if I saw Sean like this, I would still know that's Sean. But still, it's just different. It was interesting. And I wish they would play with those things a little more often.
All right.
I guess that's it. I
Richard
want you
gotta
to
go
go
work
today,
out.
and I simply want you to have a great experience.
Thank you. All right.
We're proud of you.
Go beat some records. Get in that top 0.5%.
Outside of being proud of you, I don't know how else to end this podcast. So
That's
everyone have a great
you
day.
can't stop recording.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
right.
everyone have a great day.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.